All right, guys, we are back again, and it is the Limitless Mindset podcast. I'm on again with one of our guests. He's back for his second time on the show. CJ, what's going on?
Yes, sir. I just feel like last time it was good, but I texted you and I was like, dude, I feel like there's so much more value to add. Mm-hmm. So let me start with something.
Go, knock 'em
I
out.
feel like there's a lot of value here because you're the top realtor in Rhode Island. We own the top wholesale company. We can add a lot of value.
Correct.
But I want to start with a little piece of vulnerability. All right?
Let's go.
Dude, so Friday, I'm in the gym, right? In the gym every day. And it was the wildest thing, man. I told you this, but Beth and I decided we were going to stop drinking this year.
Oh, yeah.
Right before that, I'd have a beer on a Friday, have a beer on a Saturday, chill out. And she said, hey, let's not drink it all this year. Dude, so it's been 5 months almost, or 4.5 months or something. Golden, nothing. Come Friday, dude, I'm in the gym and I just had this thought in my head, like, dude, I need a drink. I don't know why, because I'm not feeling crazy stressed.
Yeah.
But it was like, and I have that type of like type A kind of addictive personality where once I get a thought, I just
can't
like,
go away.
Dude, I can't get out of my
it doesn't
head.
go away.
And it was like, dude, bro, go have a beer. You're good. It's been 4.5 months. I had this voice that was like telling me, do it, dude. Do it, bro, right?
Yeah.
Then this other voice was like, you're that guy. You're disciplined, like you're a leader. You told your team you weren't gonna do it. You're gonna set an example. I literally battled for like probably 30, 45 minutes. I couldn't even think about my workout. And then I was like, I gotta text someone. Because that's worked for me in the past, right? And you have a whole contact list. I could have texted anyone, right? And I was like, you know what, let me text Kyle. I told you.
Yeah.
And initially, you hit me with the softest thing I could ever
I mean, I had no
expected.
context, bro. I was like, what is he talking about? Like, what does he want me to say to him right now? But yeah, go ahead.
So I hit you up and I was like, dude, I'm really struggling with this.
Yeah.
What should I do?
Yeah.
And what did you hit me with? Initially,
I was like, it won't. Hey, do what you got to do, something like that. What I said?
no, you were like, drink some sparkling water.
Oh yeah, I said drink sparkling water. Yeah, I did. You're right. Because you were like, I'm kind of thinking about it. I need a drink. I feel like I want a drink. I remember, and I was like, go drink some sparkling water.
Yeah, that works for me or something.
Yeah, I was like, it worked for me because I'm in the same boat. I stopped for a while too, so I'm like, I just drink a soda water.
Right, and I'm texting you expecting some like big motivational speech.
100%.
Dude. You hit me with that, and then that's what I asked for, and that's what you gave me.
Correct. And then I said, stop being a bitch.
Yes.
Like, you are better than this.
Yes.
You said you were going to commit to it. Commit to the game. Like, commit to what you said.
And the moment you texted me that, I gotta thank you, dude, because it was so fun. It was just like I got snapped out of like my hypnosis, my trance, and I was like, dude, I don't need it. I'm good.
Yeah.
And I haven't even had the thought since.
That's good.
But what it kind of comes down to for me is, number one, I texted you for a reason, because I could have texted people that would have said, dude, go relax.
Correct.
Go have one beer, bro.
Correct.
Relax, right? But I think we talk about like the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And even if we're not hanging out every day or whatever, you surround yourself with high-level people, you're gonna act that way.
Correct.
Right? So that just resonated. I gotta thank you, bro. That resonated with me.
Nah, I mean, obviously, the first answer was like, hey, bro, easy solution. Like, because I was like, oh, I'm doing the same thing as you. We've been talking about it for a little bit. Like, I just pop a sparkling water, pop a soda water, whatever, right? And then you were like, I need something more. I was like, all right, there's no negotiation right now. Like, stop being a bitch. You don't need one. Go about your day. Keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
That was good.
Yeah, so that's what we do.
So one thing, I was kind of thinking about what I want to talk to you on here, right? And I've been thinking about obviously mindset, right? This is what, like the Limitless Mindset podcast. This strategy, and then there's this strategy about how you become the best realtor in Rhode Island or whatever, right? But then there's also your mental state, like your drive, your ambition, all that stuff. What do you think is more important? Do you think strategy is more important? Do you think your mental state is more important?
So your timing couldn't be better. If you asked me this question 2 weeks ago, I would say they're probably equivalent. I just went through like a personal, almost like some personal stuff that was like going on in my space. And mentally, if you're not right, it doesn't matter. I don't care what strategy you have. I don't care how great you can write things down. I don't care how great you can manifest. Or when your mental space is off and you're not in that right mindset, nah, it's over. So for me, it's 100% mental. Everything else comes second.
So you felt that recently?
Oh, no question. I went through like a week period where, since last Wednesday until probably yesterday, there was a lot going on, and it put me in this weird mental space. And the mental space I went into was, is it worth it? Do I really want to keep doing this? Is it worth it to keep growing and get bigger? What is the point? What is my why? And at the end of the day, on the personal side, if the personal side is getting sacrificed for this other side, what's the point of doing any of this?
Right.
So for me, getting through that and living that little bump or that little situation or whatever you call it, you want to, like, just that mental spot, I was useless.
So what snapped you out of that?
Telling myself it's time to man up and keep it moving. Like, you really got to make a decision. Like, you could stay feeling bad for yourself, or you could stay in a position of victim, or you can get aggressive and you can get back into position of being the aggressor. Yeah. I think, no question in my mind, mental state. It's not even close. If you're not mentally right, you don't have a chance. I don't care.
So let's go back. I want to go back to strategy versus your mindset, right? Mm-hmm. But let's talk about your thought process. So for a week straight, what were your thoughts?
Why do I get up at 4:15? Why am I doing all this stuff in the morning? If I'm working 16, 17, 18 hours a day, but yet I can't spend any time with people I want to spend time with, or I'm not getting to see, I'm missing my kids' stuff, or I'm feeling guilty for not being able to do this, that, and the other thing, or the revenue number looks great, but the net income number looks not great. What's the point?
So, all right. So, and then how did all those thoughts make you feel?
Terrible, depressed, like legit, like clinically depressed.
And were you acting any type of way differently?
I don't think I think it's just agitation. Someone would have said, "Oh, he seems more agitated. He seems more like things can bother him a little more, or a little."
Do you think it hurt the way you performed at all?
I just think I can battle. So even me at 50% is better than, I mean, don't to sound like a jerk, but like 50% of my mental capacity, or 25% is still going to be stronger than a majority of drive that other people do have.
When you're on like a really high wavelength and you're crushing it,
unstoppable.
So your results are better.
Unstoppable.
So check this out, right? I learned this from my mentor, dude. This is why I need like mentors all the time, right?
Yeah.
So was there a circumstance that caused these thoughts?
I think it was like a domino effect. There was multiple things that happened in a row, and it was just like one after another, and it was just like negative and negative and negative, and I was like, all right, this is insane right now.
All right, so you have these circumstances happening to you, right? So check this out. This is actually like really good for people. You got to start using this. We're using this in my company. You have the circumstance number one, right? And then you have a thought. Right? The thought is, why am I doing this? Is it all worth it? Right? You're having these thoughts, which leads you to an emotion. Your emotion is, maybe I'm depressed, I'm down, or whatever, right? Which leads you to an action. Maybe your performance is less. Like, you're not showing up the same version of Kyle Seyboth, right? Your result is, ultimately, you're probably locking up less contracts, maybe. You're just doing less overall, right?
Correct.
So your thought leads to an action, your thought, emotion, action, result.
Correct.
Right? But you got to be aware, and you're a pretty aware person, right? So you can do this fast. That spells out tear. Thought, emotion, action, result. Tear.
Yeah.
And when you start having these negative thoughts, you need to tear that whole process down and switch it, right? And then you switch it, and a week later when you got positive, what was your thought?
A week later when you got positive.
You got positive. I'm telling you, when you got positive.
It just happened. I mean, I'm still coming too.
Yeah, and what are your new thoughts?
You gotta go, you gotta grind, you gotta get out there, don't stop, keep doing what you're doing, don't change the course, like, stay where you're at, it's gonna work, you got this, you're good.
Yeah, and then what does your emotion change from depressed to what?
Excited and back at it again.
Yeah, like, and then you probably start showing up like a beast, you probably start doing more business.
And that's what I'm trying to get back to.
And that kind of like will reset your mindset. Because it's easy. Once you just get into a negative thought pattern,
it's a domino. It just
keeps going. Rolls. You have the same thoughts.
It rolls.
Same emotion.
It snowballs.
Yeah.
And I can see how I'm a big believer in like the noise. Don't let the noise get in the way. Don't let any of that stuff bother you. Block the noise, stay the course, do your thing, stay disciplined, stay focused, Navy SEAL style, right? But I can see how a lot of people let noise get in the way and how it impacts results and how it impacts success. So I get it. And I very rarely does it happen to me. It probably would happen once every few years, but it just was in it.
Yeah.
And it was really, really like how am I going to get out of this disaster that I'm in? You know what I'm saying?
So your strategy is basically useless without you being locked in.
It's useless because I'm not giving it the attention it needs, and it's not putting that energy to the universe. So therefore, the results aren't happening.
Yeah.
The strategy is useless, and it's like practicing basketball but half-ass. It's like going out every day. I took 100 shots, but did you really take 100 game shots, or did you just shoot 100 shots? Were you just dribbling the ball and just shooting 100 shots? Like, what are we doing? Coming off picks? Are we coming, like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? I was standing in one place shooting free throws. 100 free, just to say I shot 100 free throws.
Right. I get it. Yeah. I think, at least what I see is like a lot of people who are almost trying to start or running their business up to a certain level, without the mindset, the strategy is useless. Like people will come to me and ask me, CJ, how do you run a wholesale company? How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? But if they don't believe or they're fearful or whatever, dude, you lay out the entire playbook.
100%.
It's not going to get done.
You could lay it out 10 times better than the way that you have it laid out. But
doesn't matter.
Irrelevant. It's so irrelevant. And I think one thing where you're talking about though is you may be there or maybe even beyond it because you've been laser focused. I'm there now, and I feel like there's a startup phase, there's a middle phase, and then there's a ending phase.
And what do you mean by those phases? What is actually happening?
The startup phase is the phase where everything's exciting, everything grows exponentially. You don't hit the law of diminishing returns. You just keep 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50% year over year over year over year.
And that's exciting.
It's exciting because it's like new, it's still cool, you're learning a bunch, you're still meeting new people, you're still new to the game. So like that ramp up of 7 to 10 years, I feel like is a great phase to be in.
And you think that's how long it should be? Or
I think that's what it takes.
7 to 10?
Yeah, I think it's 7 to 10 because you got to get some bucks, reinvest some bucks, take a couple L's, get some wins, take a couple more L's, get some more wins, establish yourself, build your brand, and get to that point. The phase I'm in right now is that danger phase.
What's that phase?
The middle phase.
Why is it danger?
Because you're at a point where you know you need to grow, you know you want to grow, but yet your numbers don't increase as much as they increased in that initial startup phase.
And why is that?
Because you hit a law of diminishing return, you hit a law of large numbers. At some point, the large number can't exponentially increase without a massive change to either scale, right, delegation, or a massive investment. So I feel like where I'm at right now is like this elongated middle phase that just keeps going.
And why is it going? Why aren't you moving past it?
Because it's long to get through. Because there's also a part of that where you're trying to grow, so you're starting over in some aspects. Like for example, if you go into different markets, you've got to almost start over in that market. You've got to get new people, you've got to get new process, you've got to get new marketing, you've got to add all that. So you're beta testing in a different market. Whereas me, like we're saying, okay, we have the brokerage, we have me as a salesperson, we're doing some stuff in mortgage and private lending and developments. What's going to work? Where am I going to refocus some of that additional energy? And then how does it become profitable enough to make worth my time? Mm-hmm. So that middle phase is where you can either become very aggravated and agitated and quit, or you got to fight through it, and it's a long process. And I think that's why I hit that kind of bump.
Because you're feeling just frustrated with it?
Yeah, because you're not seeing the profit numbers aren't as big as they were before because...
And by profit, you mean your margin?
Yeah, your margins. Your margins have shrunk because you've invested so much in other things that you're taking $1 from here, but you're just spending it over there.
But what if your total net profit is higher and your margin is lower?
That's okay. But the net profit, my total net was going down too because it was being gobbled up by something else.
Other businesses?
Correct. So for example, I'll give you a real life example. So the brokerage in my space does fine, right? It performs perfectly fine. Me as an agent has a higher margin because it's way more delegated and leveraged because I can do more with less, with more support. It doesn't cost as much. But we started this ADU business, right? And the ADU business, the startup costs and to get everything going and the personnel and the hardware and the software and everything you need, $1 from here gets reinvested over here.
Why can't it just self-sustain?
Because you've got to start somewhere. So it will, but the lag period between actually selling these things and getting paid at the end, which is where the profit comes on the last draw.
Yeah, so Kyle Seyboth, the broker, is the free lender for everything.
Correct. But this has been years of this.
Yeah.
It happened when we opened the cannabis business. It happened when we opened the private lending. It happened when we went to New York and bought 75 properties.
Do you ever get like resentful?
Right now I am.
You're starting to get resentful?
Very much.
Dude, that's the problem with
very, very much. High level. My resentment level is through the roof, through the moon.
And you know why?
No.
It's because you didn't set the right boundaries. Honestly, that's where the resentment comes from. It's from the boundaries. Like Kyle Seyboth, because I get it too. I'm out of this now, or I'm really close to being out of it. Multiple Solutions, Kyle Seyboth, you're the cash flow company, right? You make all the cash. So then what happens is your contribution to things is cash.
Right.
And people, a lot of times, people will not value that as much as it should be valued. So you'll keep pouring cash into it, not seeing a return, saying, what are you doing with it? And then it gets to a point where the resentment builds, maybe the conversations aren't happening as much, and then you're in the space that you're in.
100%. And it's like, what is going to give? Right? What's going to give, right? So it gets to that point. It's like, how many more things can I do for free, essentially, that don't return capital back, but yet take capital out?
Yeah.
And that's the resentment. And that's a good word for where I was at.
Yeah,
and that's a good word for where that middle phase is. I think you get into a resentment phase. I think you start to feel some type of way. And you start to resent everyone. No, anyone I look at in my space, I want to punch in the face in the last
And by your
week.
space, you mean like your team and your company?
Everybody.
Really?
Every person I make a paycheck to, I was like, I would like to punch you in the face.
Interesting.
And they didn't do anything wrong. And they're great people, and they're great employees, and they're great staff, and they're great business partners. So don't get it twisted like I'm looking down on my team. My team's great. We have the best team we've ever had. And I could say that hands down. We've got 4 C-level people, and we've got a lot of great support staff that are just doing a phenomenal job. But I still want to punch them in the face. Because I feel like it's just all on me.
Oh, I don't feel that way at all, dude.
Well, you set up
With my
differently.
company.
You're set up differently.
And I feel like we run phases simultaneously. Like if I was in the Beth and CJ phase with the two of us, dude, that's what I would hate my life right now.
Right.
But the new phase, it's like, you're right, a new phase is going into a different market, learning actually how to hire like really high level people, maybe like acquiring some other companies that can help you if it makes sense.
Right.
I think we run a silent. I don't feel that way if I want to punch my employees. But
it is what it is. I'm just being honest. Like when you start to look at everything as an expense and you're like, man, I wish I could just put that. And I think part of my end too is I've been burnt so much over the last few years. Like
we've had different paths.
It's just like, all right already. Like New York, I got burnt. This other cannabis thing I did, and not burnt in the sense like I won't get it back, but it's not here. The cash is gone for right now. I've got to wait to get it back. One of the cannabis things I did is still a little gone. Some of the development stuff I've done with partners have been beating my head against the wall, where I put in X amount of dollars and the partners put in $0, and that gets old really fast.
Oh yeah, you get resentful.
Right.
For sure. A lot of that going on. You don't want that in your body, dude.
No, you gotta
like cut those things.
Well, that's what I'm working on. This year is the year of recovery for me.
Yeah.
Recovery of funds and move on to bigger and better next year.
See, I gotta figure out, dude, I'm in an interesting spot because I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to scale and expand, and I think what we have is really good. But then I have all these like verticals that I could do inside Multiple Solutions, right? Like the title company, private money, direct mail, whatever. We have an opportunity to potentially buy the direct mail house that we use. We use a shop in Rhode Island. Dude, great operators. It's a small shop, but great operators, and they could use probably an influx of cash, sales experience, marketing experience. We could bring them a lot of clients. It'd be a really good partnership because I wouldn't need to run it, right? And we have a lot of value to add there. But also, you know me, I've been the laser focused guy forever.
Correct.
Anything that's not wholesaling, like, dude, get that out of my face.
Correct.
So, I don't know, I'm hitting the kind of unknown waters where it's like, do I go in and partner with this direct mail company and then really scale this thing? Maybe someday we could sell it. Or do I just keep going on what we're really, really, really good at?
So the only thing I would say to you is the good news is it's an integration to what you do now. It's not saying I want to open a chicken store.
No, and we use them. I
That's
think
what
we're
I'm
the
saying.
biggest client.
So for you, I like it. But if you said to me, I want to open 7 Subways, I would say, I've already done this. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
100%.
So like I would say to you, 200% highly consider it. And I think you're in a position too now where you're not so much in the business, or you're more on the business at your spot.
For sure.
So this would give you another good challenge. I think it could give you another challenge and allow you to build something out that could be bought out down the road.
Yeah.
Versus, just having a one-trick pony. I think and that's the biggest, if you think about your biggest expense is direct mail. One of, right?
One of, for sure.
One of,
For
I would
sure.
say, if I'm a wholesale company that wants to start from scratch, direct mail is going to be one of my biggest expenses.
Yeah.
Right? So at the end of the day, if you can own the machine that provides the direct mail,
all my direct mail.
and I go to sell this thing down the road, or I go to mimic this in other territories, it makes a lot of sense.
And I was sitting with this private equity guy yesterday, and he's selling his business. He's got a business that they do about $3 million a year, managing people's money.
Yeah.
They do about $3 million a year net.
Yeah.
They got big margins. They make 6, but they keep 3.
Yeah.
Dude, they're selling for like an 18 multiple, 20 multiple. For some reason, private equity companies want companies like that.
Yeah, because it's residual income.
Dude, he says, CJ, it's 99 point whatever % is all reoccurring.
Yeah, it's
we know
residual
exactly what it's going to be.
Correct.
Versus me, I need a new deal now.
You're ABC. That's the problem with what you and I do is we're not residual, we are ABC, and that's why I've invested and tried to get in all these other things, because every other business that I've tried to get in is more recurring income versus me having to go out there and sell every day and agents sell. That business is dependent upon your salespeople, dependent upon the market environment, dependent upon the volume you can get, and dependent upon closers.
And grind.
Whereas these other stuff like that has residual income that comes in every month, no matter what happens, it still comes in. You can put a huge multiple on that. The multiple they're going to put on something like yours is going to be way less.
Yeah.
Because it's ABC.
So if we can start incorporating these things where there is reoccurring, right, and you have these clients, and it's very predictable.
Correct.
As opposed to just a track record.
It's predictable income. And the other part of it is when you go to sell the business, the reason that I'm so adamant on the tiny home side is because when I don't want to have to sell a business that I am the face of. Meaning that if something ever happened to me, the business does not exist.
You are the business.
Correct. Which is what now, if someone wanted to buy my business, well, you're basically buying me.
Yeah, they'd have to like lock you in. They'd have to put you in prison in the brokers.
That's it. Like there's no other, like you're buying me. Like that's what you're getting. And I think at the end of the day, when you look at some of this other stuff and some of the other stuff we're trying to get going, the reason is I want that sort of business.
So let's spend 5 more minutes talking about let's pivot a little bit.
Go.
So your method, I feel like up to this point, has been pure grind.
Grind.
Right? That's like your bread and butter, grind.
Grit.
Right? Grit and grind. And that can get you to a certain point business-wise and income-wise. Right? And to a healthy level, for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, at what point, where do you even think, like, income-wise? I'm talking about gross profit for a business. At one point, do you really need to start being strategic after the grind?
That's where I'm at, right? I was there probably 5 years ago, and I missed the butt. I missed it.
Well, you put your foot on the gas.
Yeah, I just said forget it. I basically hit it 5 years ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Doing what, like scaling strategy
So
stuff?
I look at it like this. What got you here won't get you there.
For sure.
So what got me to wherever I am now, whether you think I'm a jerk, I'm great, I'm not great, I'm successful, I'm unsuccessful, whatever, will not get me to that next level I want to be at. There's got to be a mentality change. There's got to be a production change. There's got to be an allocation of time change. And that's what I'm trying to get through right now. But it can't be at the expense of my expenses.
So what All right. So I was going to ask you, what has prevented you from doing that?
Expenses.
Keeping up with your expenses.
Correct.
Expenses, right? You gave me this metaphor one time.
Let's hear this.
You were like, dude, it's almost like being on Section 8.
Yeah.
I just make a ton of money, relative, right?
Yeah.
And I just spend a ton of money.
It's no different. It's
Right?
no different than someone that is. I say this all the time. Like, we start every month down a certain amount. Now it's your turn to crawl out of that hole and make that. You do the same thing. You start every month down whatever that number is.
Oh yeah, baby.
You got to make that much to make $1. So it's no different than someone that's living in an apartment or living whatever month to month or check to check, where they say, hey, I've got to make X amount. At the end of the day, you may make $7 million, but if you spend $7 million in one, who cares?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So like, that's the part that I think as a business person becomes less focused on revenue, more focused on net profit, more focused on expenses, more focused on running the business, more focused on the business versus in the business. And it's true. Like, there's no difference. If I'm stressing over a $200,000 private mortgage a month, that's whatever that, let's say that's your note a month, and someone that lives in an apartment stressing over $1,000 a month more rent, it's the same thing. It's just a different relative level of numbers.
So what do you think will break you from that cycle?
I think it's on the mental side. I think it's when I feel like I have a certain amount of cash in reserves, I can make the switch I want to make.
Can you commit?
I'm going to commit.
Can you
I
commit
can't keep doing this.
and say, like, because I have conversations with my controller which said, hey, we need this amount of cash in the bank by this date. Here's the commitment. Let's forgo these expenses and make it there.
Yeah, I'm committing to it. I have it all written out. My goal is 12 months. I know what the numbers I need to get to.
The goal is to get there in 12 months?
Uh-huh. And a lot of it is it's active cash, it's passive cash, and it's recovery cash. So it's recovering cash that's went out the door to get it back. It's actively going out and pursuing business to get more money to come in. And it's having my passive investments do what they're supposed to do. And if those three things can work in the same tandem, then I feel like I will get to that.
Yeah.
I know I'll get there. 12 months is the goal.
You know what? This is an interesting point. What I see in the wholesale space is it's all grinders, right? It's grinders that get really good at what they do, and then they make between like $2 and $7 million a year gross, right? And they can grind their way there.
100%.
Maybe even like touch $8 million a year gross. Grind, right?
Yeah.
They can sustain that for some years. A very small percentage of them scale and build businesses, and then they're over 10 million, and it's different. Dude, they're not in their business. They have like a C-suite. They're running a proper business. The other ones, dude, they get worn down. They get
burn
tired.
out. Yeah, they burn out.
They let everyone go. They go back to what worked. It's just one person, two people. They bring weight down. They get bigger margins. They don't have as much stress.
The conversation I've had with myself for 1 week straight is exactly what you just said.
Do I want to do that? The difference with you, I think you have more grit than the normal person.
100%.
Dude, so they'll go back down faster,
Yeah.
but you're literally having that thought right now.
Correct.
Do I do that and ease up all my stresses?
Correct.
Or do I figure this thing out and then make it to the next fucking level up?
That's what I'm saying to myself. And that's what I've said for a week. Do I do that? Do I say, you know what? I'm going to go back to a one-man show. I'm going to go sell my butt off. I'm going to have a couple administrative help, and the rest of this can go figure itself out. But I don't want to deal with it.
And what do you think about that?
When you texted me the other day and said, I feel like having a drink, what should I do? How did you feel?
How did I feel?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if your response is feel like a bitch, is that what you're going for?
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way. Because I think that what I went through, dude, I did my best in that situation. I texted someone who I knew.
No, that's
was
not
gonna
what
get
I'm
me out.
asking you. I'm not asking you that.
If I would have had a drink,
Yeah.
I probably would have felt like a loser.
Right. So how do you think my mind goes?
Yeah, dude, you'd hate yourself.
Correct.
I think you might hate yourself.
Correct.
If you do that. Because you'd be like, I couldn't do it.
It's waving the flag.
Yeah, I give up.
It's again, now this is going to sound whatever you want to say or however you want to spin it, you've then basically said, I'm just going to be average. I'm okay just being average and not pushing myself and not giving my full best and not putting my full potential out there. I'm okay just being average. And that's okay. If that's what you want to do, that's okay.
Yeah, but that's not who you are.
That's the problem. So I don't know if I can do it the other way. I don't know if I could just pack it in and go backwards.
I think that you'd be way less stressed.
Way less stress.
Way less. But I don't know
I'd
if
make way more money.
You'd make way more. By the end of the year, you'd have way more in your bank.
Correct. I'd be way less stressed. I'd have way more income.
So let's talk through that for a second. You don't think that you could look at yourself in the mirror and be like, dude, this was for the best?
I don't know yet. I don't know if it's conceding that you couldn't figure the other thing out and you weren't able to strategically position yourself in a way to be a winner.
I mean, you're still a winner, bro.
Yeah, but I feel like there's different level. I feel like, again, whether you believe in God or the universe, everybody has a different potential in them. And I feel like if I don't give it my best and try my hardest and go the furthest I possibly can, I wasted talent. Whatever talent that is or whatever God-given abilities that I have or whatever fucked up mindset I have, if you waste it, how does that feel?
Yeah.
Regret. Okay, what's his name talks about this all the time.
Regret.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Jordan's trainer. The price of regret. Yeah. What is his name? Tim, whatever.
Grover,
Glover, whatever. I kind of believe in everything he says when he says that.
Yeah.
Like the price of regret is bigger. And it brings me back to the days I used to work in Boston, and I was like, if I do this for the rest of my life, I'm going to hate myself. If I work like this for the rest of my life, like this, I'm going to be a miserable, suicidal animal.
Yeah, well, you're at a video game level where, like, you're having a hard time beating your boss at this
Correct.
level. And you could dominate the boss below you.
100%.
You go live there forever and play around.
100%. And have no issues.
No issues.
But it's how do you get through this level?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, dude. I want to blast through my levels. I want to take this thing, like, to the moon, bro. I really do. I was thinking about this, like...
What do you do when you get cash tight? Does that change your mindset when you guys get cash tight?
It never gets below a certain level anymore.
No?
I don't let it.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what. There used to be times when I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking about how much cash is in our bank account. That doesn't happen anymore.
So now you're disciplined enough to know you won't take a deal on if
I don't take deals on anymore. I'm not buying any flips. I don't buy any flips anymore. None. Zero.
That's awesome.
No multifamilies. I don't want it, bro. Because if I invest cash into my business and salaries or marketing, I make a way bigger return, and all the cash sits in my bank account. And if I buy flips, I get resentful, like because, and I'm sure other partners get resentful of me, right?
Right.
But like, who's doing more? Who's doing less?
Right.
It's eating all my cash. We're the bank, dude.
Right.
None of it anymore. I just know what I want. I don't want that.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So now, and I was thinking about this and telling my team this, dude. My team, like, we talk about this stuff all the time. I probably brought you up as an example. There are top real estate people in the state, and it's hard to get there. Kyle Seyboth, right? There's probably a top broker in the state. There's probably a top person in Ron Oliveira's in New Bedford.
Yeah.
Right? There's big dogs in all these little things, right? But it's very rare that those big dogs make it to the next level, right? They stay where they are. They dominate the pond. They become big fish in a small pond. And I'm like, that's not Awesome Solutions. We are going to grow into the next echelon, you know? And dude, I just got a squad right now that's like running through walls.
Nah, you got a good group, man. I think you got the right demographics, the right age group, the right type of. You got the right type.
Yeah.
I mean, I know all of them. You definitely have the right crew in place.
That's good.
I would agree.
Boom. That's what I got today.
That's all I got too. All right, guys. Thank you. Limitless Mindset. CJ, Kyle, back again.
Boom.
Boom.
Good one?